If you're a longtime listener, you know this podcast started because of a trip around the world I did back in 2024. The My Home is Special project was a way to experience the world in a way that most tourists don't. However, we've been traveling with a purpose for a long time, and today's story is about a trip we took that was a bit heavier than most. This is the story of that trip. Enjoy the episode, and also don't forget to tell a friend about the podcast if you like what we're doing here. Thanks.
The homie. Hey everybody, I missed you all the last couple months, so I'm glad to be back, especially because it took me forever to find this damn place. But anyway, in 2020, in June, we had a trip planned with our church to Charleston. And we ended up obviously not going, but we thought about it a lot before we went because our church does these pilgrimage trips. They're not tours, they do tour the facility, but they have lecturers, they have storytellers, and we have reflection every night. And they've gone to like Ghana and Ethiopia, and I was like, that would be dope to see like the history there, but that's a lot of church folk to be stuck in another country with no way of going anywhere. So I was like, Charleston, if they get on my nerves, I could always take an Uber and just do it on my own. So we had it paid for and everything, and then COVID came, so we had to postpone it. But they brought it back this year, and we said, we should go, but we had never really spent time in that part of the country. So we said, why don't we extend it? It was Monday through Friday. Why don't we go the weekend before, and we'll do Hilton Head, and we'll stop in Beaufort on the way to Charleston, and then we'll come back and do Savannah and actually see more of that part of the country, which we had never really been to. And I've studied a lot of Black history around the world and in college and everything. And so I was like, this will be really neat to check out. So we booked the trip. Turns out one of my friends grew up in Beaufort. So we got to spend a whole day there, and he laid out everything we could do. But it was time, and July came, and we were like, let's do this. So my wife and I go on the trip. We get there early. Hilton Head is nice. We start touring. We start seeing things. And honestly, I want to tell you all about the trip because I haven't really talked about the trip much. When you get back to work after these trips, everybody's like, how was your trip? How was your trip? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not ready to talk about it yet. We had seen a lot of stuff, and I just wasn't there. And I'm a photographer. And so I actually take a lot of photos on these trips, and I document the trip. And then for every trip, every vacation we take, I basically journal day by day, sort of with my photos, and I put them online, and I'll share those with my family. Except this trip took me probably 2 weeks to sort of process everything that we had seen, but we saw a lot. And so, the first day Hilton Head was Hilton Head. We stopped, we saw some things, but we got to Charleston and met up with the group, and it was 200 church folk, y'all. It's oh, this is gonna be a long week. But we had the rental car, so we took the bus the first day. But when we got there, we did an opening ceremony. We got to meet each other, meet the tour groups, meet the people that were assigned to our bus. And then the trip was set up like this. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was the pilgrimage itself. And it was a 1619 pilgrimage is what they called it. So the first day, we went to the port of Charleston, which is where a lot of the Africans that were enslaved arrived in the U.S. 40% of the Africans that came to the U.S. came through the port of Charleston. I had no idea. And so we went to the port, and then we went to some of the markets where they were sold when they arrived. And we went to a museum they were building. And the museum is actually lifted up, and it's on these big pillars because the part where the port was, they considered that sacred ground. And they were like, nothing should ever be built on here. And they're actually going to build the museum above that and put monuments and art underneath so that you could spend time on that same ground where the Africans that came to the U.S. actually stood. After that, my wife and I walked. We've been on the bus a little too much that day. We walked to the next meeting that we had, which was Mother Emanuel Church. And it didn't click for me, but that's where Dylan Roof killed all those people. And so we got to hear from people, the pastor, the current pastor, and other leaders of the church, what actually happened that day. And they were just telling the story, and I'm taking pictures, I'm listening to the story, but, at the end of it, I didn't realize, he actually went to the church, sat in Bible study for 45 minutes with these people. And then when they closed out in prayer and closed their eyes, he stood up and shot the pastor in the head. And shot everybody else that was down in that basement. And to hear people tell that story, and they still have the pictures of the 9 in the sanctuary, and to hear them talk about their loved ones and their friends and their family, that was a lot for day 1 of the trip. So day 2, we go to a plantation. So the first day was our arrival. The second day was our life during slavery. And we go to a plantation, and we might have arrived a little early because I may not have taken the bus that day. So we're like, we'll meet y'all there. So we see a guy walking around with the Trump hat, and I'm texting my friends. I'm like, what the hell is he doing here? And they're like, he must be trying to figure out what we mean when we say "Make America Great Again." And we're in the cabins, and there's like an auction list of Africans that were for sale, and it was like, this person is a good cook, and this person is strong, and they had London, and London next to his name was complains, and I'm like, damn right, he's probably complaining, right? But they're describing everything, and we're walking around the grounds, and I've been to other plantations, but this was like surreal because the scenery and the driveway, and I took all these pictures that were amazing. The beauty of the place and the horror of what happened were just crazy to have those like right next to each other. And you sort of see that. And we toured, we saw a lot of other stuff. The third day is life after slavery. And we go out to the Gullah Islands where a lot of the freed Africans set up their colonies and set up their schools. And the people that we were meeting were actual descendants of those people that were enslaved. And my time is up, but I wanted to share with you on this story because we came back, we did the closing ceremony, and it literally took me about 2 weeks to get through it all. And I still don't really talk, but this is the first time I've actually talked about it at length. And we've been back for a couple months, but I just said, people ask me about the trip, I said, I'm just gonna send you the email. If any of you are interested, I'm happy to share the galleries with you. But the reason I wanted to talk about it is that I had the pleasure of going to Eric's block party. He had a couple friends over on the lakefront the other day. And after 2.5 years, my wife said, we lost our COVID virginity at the block party, and I caught COVID for the first time. But what that means is that I basically got my get out of jail free card, so now I can travel. After seeing what we saw down there on the arrival, it only felt right that we finally checked through the next part of our list, which was actually booking tickets and going to Senegal and seeing where they left from. And so in October, right before Grown Folk Stories in October, we will get back from that trip. And maybe I'll be ready, or maybe it'll take November, or maybe it'll take December. But I look forward to sharing with you what the other side of that journey looked like when we get back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of My Home is Special. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to get future episodes automatically. You can go to myhomeisspecial.com to see the full project and sign up for email updates. Be sure to follow KBevPhoto on Instagram or go to kbevphoto.com to see what I'm snapping these days. There's a lot on both to explore. For now, this is Keith, aka KBev, signing off. Peace.